It is finally happening! Iron Maiden kicked off the Future Past tour with a show in Slovenia and an absolutely insane setlist. Overall, on the opening night of the tour, the band played 15 tracks, with 5 of them being from Somewhere in Time, 5 from Senjutsu, and 5 other tracks from 5 different albums, the choice of which was rather surprising for many Iron Maiden fans. And we will of course talk about those a little bit later in the video, but nevertheless, the overall structure of the setlist was of course very much on par with what we and many other fans predicted it would be. And just as we predicted, and just as on the original 1986 Somewhere on Tour, the band kicked off the show with the Vangelis Blade Runner intro, then going straight into Caught Somewhere in Time, the intro for which of course has been played on tape, after which the full band kicked in with the main riff. Here's the thing, I actually want to keep this video specifically about the setlist and the choice of songs the band did on this tour, and therefore I'm not really going to go into the details of the stage, the show, and the overall production in this video. I'll be more than happy to do that in one of the future ones, of course, but I just wanted to point out that one of the highlights of this tour overall for many Iron Maiden fans was the fact that we would finally get to hear the Adrian Smith solo on Caught Somewhere in Time live one more time. And from the footage that I've seen so far, it was absolutely worth the wait. After that, the band went straight to Stranger in a Strange Land, which I guess was no surprise to anyone, given the fact that it was pretty much chosen as a soundtrack to this tour overall. And after playing those 2 songs from Somewhere in Time, the band continued with playing a track from their latest studio output, Senjutsu, that one once again being the writing on the wall.
It seemed like such a simple idea.
But just running a little bit ahead of myself, what I absolutely loved about this tour's choice of songs was the fact that the writing on the wall remained the only song from Senjutsu that the band has already performed on Legacy of the Beast that they also played on this tour, thus allowing us to enjoy the live renditions of an absolutely different set of songs from their latest studio output. Continuing the theme of Senjutsu, Iron Maiden performed the Days of Future Past, which once again wasn't really a surprise, since it was pretty much in the tour's title.
Exactly.
And after that played the Time Machine, which so far is actually the only song which I personally did not guess right away, yet still the one which so many of you actually suggested in the comments in one of the previous videos that I think we kind of agreed to include in our joint setlist prediction. Here I guess would be a good time to underline the very thought-through and exquisite choice of songs, and not only from those 2 records, but on this concert overall, as all of them are in one way or another related to history, time travel, or fear of the dark, thus almost making it a concept show much closer to a coherent theater performance rather than a regular heavy metal concert. But it was actually the next track which surprised me personally the most on the entire setlist, and actually did that in a good way. The song which I personally did not expect the band to play at all, and I don't remember seeing it in pretty much any of the other fans' predictions, as when choosing a song to perform from one of their classic studio albums, and specifically their most popular, The Number of the Beast.
As far as I'm concerned, it still is the album.
Iron Maiden decided to not go with the title track or Hallowed Be Thy Name, but instead performed The Prisoner, which they did not play live since 2014, and which for me personally was a very, very pleasant surprise. After playing that unexpected classic, the band returned to their latest studio album, Senjutsu, and performed a song which I personally had zero doubt that they will perform on this tour. Possibly one of the strongest tracks on their latest studio output, Death of the Celts. But here's the thing, many fans actually consider this track to be very reminiscent of the Blaze Bayley Iron Maiden era, and thus I guess it is no surprise that Iron Maiden included it around the middle section of the main set, just like they did with several other Blaze Bayley songs on their Legacy of the Beast tour last year, thus kinda allowing it to perform the same functions those songs did on the set list on their previous tour. Then going into Can I Play With Madness and thus honoring the follow-up to Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and which, let's be honest here, did fit very well with the overall mood and feel of this concert.
Yes, that's true.
And I guess what is most importantly, together with its follow-up, Heaven Can Wait from Somewhere in Time, both of those lighter songs with a very catchy chorus that every Iron Maiden fan knows, provided the fans who came to witness this show a very much needed energy boost in between the dark and gloomy Death of the Celts and what may be a pinnacle of this overall show for many of the Iron Maiden fans. Cause yes, Iron Maiden did finally play Alexander the Great live. Here, I just wanted to point out once again that this video is very specific to the setlist and not really to the overall production of this show, but I simply cannot resist and I absolutely have to point out that I absolutely love the new Alexander the Great art and that we Iron Maiden fans do need it as our next piece of Iron Maiden merch. After playing Alexander the Great and giving the fans what they were longing for so many years, Iron Maiden went with a rather predictable set of songs to close the main set, those being Fear of the Dark and Iron Maiden. And now please don't get me wrong and don't hate me for that, I love Fear of the Dark. It is actually one of my favorite songs ever written. Not only by Iron Maiden, overall. But I did not really fully understand the contextual connection of this track with the other songs on the setlist, although I do have to point out that it sounded absolutely epic on stage, as always, and it did boost the energy level through the roof before the title track kicked in.
What's it coming to my room? Wanna show you all the ways. Wanna see your blood. Want you to stand there.
But at the same time, although I wouldn't really mind this track given its spot to some lesser played song, I do understand that Iron Maiden kinda has to play those songs just because there are so many new Iron Maiden fans who come to witness the show who have never seen Iron Maiden live and who are absolutely longing to hear those classic songs on stage. And let's be honest here, they do sound absolutely kick-ass. Yet what I absolutely loved about the setlist, and possibly even more so that we finally got to hear Alexander the Great live, was the fact that Iron Maiden opened the Encore with the song which I personally consider one of the strongest from Senjutsu and possibly even one of the strongest that the band has written in over 30 years. The track which sadly I and so many other Ukrainians actually do relate quite a lot to these days. The closing track from the band's latest studio output, Hell on Earth. And I think it's just mind-blowing how Iron Maiden were able to turn a track with more than 11 minutes of running time into an absolute banger at their concert, making thousands of fans engaged and on their toes throughout the entire song. After rocking the stage to Hell on Earth, the band continued with The Trooper, which this time fit very well with its predecessor, and closed the show with the legendary 1986 single Wasted Years, which, I'll be honest with you, given all of the other songs and their position on this setlist, was possibly the best possible concert closer for such shows. So yes, that's it. No Number of the Beast, no Hallowed Be Thy Name, no 2 Minutes to Midnight or Run to the Hill. Just only a couple of those classic Iron Maiden songs without which many fans could not even imagine the band's show just a couple of years ago. And yet still, from what I've heard from so many of you guys who were actually able to attend this concert, Iron Maiden were not only able to keep their audience super engaged throughout the concert, but they actually gave out one of the strongest and one of the most thought through set lists they played in possibly their entire career. And with this bold setlist, Iron Maiden actually proved something much bigger than just the fact that Somewhere in Time and Senjutsu are both great albums. Iron Maiden showed to the entire world that even without those classic records that are known to pretty much every heavy metal fan and far beyond the regular Iron Maiden fan base, the band still has so many gems in their vast catalog that only a handful of bands in possibly the entire history of music can match their excellence. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about the Future Past Tour setlist, and are you planning to see this tour live? Please let us know in the comments. And as always guys, I just wanted to thank you so much for all your support you're showing to me, this show in Ukraine, through this very difficult time. And although I of course unfortunately am not able to witness this tour myself, thanks to all of your support and all those comments and videos that I receive from you guys who are able to see it, I almost feel like I'm actually there. And please just know that your support means the world to me and all Ukrainian metalheads. We will prevail. Slava Ukraini!